All right, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope you're all getting set to have a fantastic weekend. Can't wait for Sunday's matchup between the Eagles and the Niners in the wild card round at Lincoln Financial Field. We're going to be doing a watch party for that game. We'll be live here on the channel, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us for that, but also daily and year-round coverage of the Eagles, whether it's in-season or off-season coverage. I always have you covered. Coming up on today's show, I'm really excited about everything that's coming up here, and it's going to be a little bit different than what we usually do. Howie Roseman did it again with two moves that have paid big dividends for the Eagles and are paying off for the Eagles currently right now. Also, the head official for this Eagles-Niners game. There's some interesting data behind how he officiates games and how the Eagles have fared in some of those games. He's also a Williamsport native from northeastern Pennsylvania. And then I was also on 97.5 The Fanatic earlier this week with Jon Marks and Ray Dunn. I actually used to be an intern there back when I was at Temple University. We talked all things Eagles, and I got a lot of texts right after I hung up live on that show from a lot of friends who were tuning in the Philadelphia area, some people I hadn't talked to in a little while, and I thought the segment went pretty well, even though I've been pretty sick all throughout the week, so I definitely sounded a little bit nasally, but I wanted to play that segment here on Eagles Now as well, because obviously being able to go on 97.5 The Fanatic was an honor, and it's a major radio station in the fourth largest media market in the country, so was able to represent Chat Sports and Eagles Now in doing that. So all of that is coming up right now. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and enjoy the show. Here we go. Remember when the Eagles traded Haason Reddick to the New York Jets? Feels like a long time ago, right? It's kind of unfortunate how his Eagles career dissipated. He had such a special year in 2022, and he was such a focal point for that Eagles defense, which led the NFL in sacks that year with 70, and he had a career year. Then in 2023, wasn't the same player, and then things soured. He wanted a new deal. Howie Roseman didn't want to give him a new deal. Howie Roseman wanted a philosophical change at the pass rusher spot at outside linebacker under Vic Fangio after making that coordinator change, and Vic didn't really like Haason Reddick because he can't drop back in coverage. Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, they do a better job of doing that, and so the Eagles were fine moving off of Reddick, especially at his age, his playing style, and how much money he was demanding at the time. He wanted to be one of the top pass rushers in the game. And so the Eagles traded Haason Reddick to the New York Jets. And the Eagles got back a conditional mid-round pick. It was either going to be a third or it was going to be a second. If it was going to be a second, that all came down to production and playing time. So on April 1st, that was when Reddick was traded to the Jets for that conditional mid-round selection, where if Reddick were to reach 67.5% of playing time and have 10 sacks in 2024, the pick would be a second-round selection. Neither of the conditions were met, leading to the Eagles eventually receiving the Jets' 2026 third-round pick. It was also a disaster for the Jets because Reddick wanted a new deal with New York. New York didn't want to pay him, and so he held out for a little while. That impacted the production. Well, the trade compensation is official, and it's not that second-round pick, which would have been awesome, but the Eagles will receive the 68th overall pick from the New York Jets in the Haason Reddick trade. The Eagles are getting a top 70 pick after Reddick had 1 sack in 10 games with the New York Jets. I also just want to take another shot at a division rival because it's always fun to make fun of the Washington Commanders. How about this too? The Eagles are currently projected to make 6 picks in the 2026 NFL Draft before the Commanders make their 3rd pick, which is early in the 5th round. Pretty wild, right? This is Howie Roseman playing chess and not checkers. I transition to this. The head official for this Eagles-Niners game on Sunday will be Alan Heck. And the Eagles are 8-1 in games that he referees, including the 2023 NFC Championship game. That would have been the 2022 season, of course. The 49ers in games where Alan Heck has been the referee. They are 3-6. And I saw some of these numbers from NFL Ref Stats that home teams are 33-15 straight up, 69%, and 28-20 against the spread, 59% in X 2+ seasons as head referee, although home teams are just 8-8 against the spread with him in 2025. Philadelphia, 3-0 straight up, 2-1 against the spread, with Alan Eck in charge of proceedings, favored by an average of 5 points in those contests. Eck is averaging the second fewest penalties per game in 2025. That's great news because I hate watching football games where flags are flying and there is so much laundry on the field, and Eck is a Williamsport native, and I don't think a lot of Niner fans are very happy about that. And then I round out with this. Notable Howie Roseman in-season trades. He's kind of whiffed on some trades over time. The 4th-round pick for Jay Ajayi, the 3rd-round pick for Golden Tate, 3rd-round pick for Robert Quinn. In 2023, he traded for Kevin Byard. Jay Ajayi, of course, was back in 2017. Our bad on that one. But all these trades outside of Jay Ajayi really didn't work out for the Eagles. Like Golden Tate really didn't do much. Robert Quinn was cooked. Kevin Byard just wasn't good for a bad Eagles defense this year. He's been very productive as a ball hawk for Chicago. And the Jalen Phillips trade, by far and away, goes down as the best Howie Roseman in-season trade that he has made as a general manager. The acquisition of Phillips has really coincided with this Eagles defensive turnaround. And since the acquisition of Jalen Phillips, he made his debut against the Green Bay Packers coming out of the bye week. The Eagles defense has been spectacular. They've really turned it around. They've had one really bad performance. That came against the Chicago Bears. Other than that, and even with that game included, they're the #1 scoring defense allowed. And since week 8 in general, they're giving up just 14.5 points per game. And look at these numbers for Jalen Phillips with the Eagles. 8 games played. 8 games played, 41 pressures, 32 hurries, 2 sacks, and 7 quarterback hits. And I tweeted this out, and somebody responded, 2 sacks? Those are Bryce Huff level numbers. Yeah, if you translate those numbers to a full season, Jalen Phillips will be on pace for like 90 pressures and more than 30 or more than like 60 quarterback hits. Those numbers are stupid. And you see why Vic Fangio really liked the player, why Jalen Phillips was the player that Vic Fangio went to Howie Roseman and said, I want him. And Jalen Phillips just thrives under Vic Fangio. When he played under him with the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Phillips had some of the best production in his career. And of course, it's unfortunate that he suffered an Achilles injury and an ACL injury, but still, when he was playing with Fangio in Miami, he was balling out, and he was on his way to having a breakout year and a career year. Now, I think this is the best stretch of football that we've seen from Jalen Phillips, and he's also made plays that go beyond just those numbers, right? Altering passes, batting down passes, making plays to collapse the pocket, which have led to giveaways, being around the ball. He's really surprised me being a better run defender than I thought that he was going to be. And we'll see if the Eagles bring him back in free agency, because with the way that he's played, with the value of pass rushers, the current market there, he could be really expensive. But as we know, Howie Roseman is always willing to invest in edge rushers, and we'll have to see what his market value is after the year.
We'll talk Chase Sr. coming up here in a second. The Eagles, still favorites in the game, still decent favorites in the game over the 49ers. Still 4.5 points, at least on the BetParks app, which I would consider a slight Eagles line. Would you agree, Raymond?
Yeah. Moving in its favor was good.
Yeah. Big money has swayed that a little bit. So maybe it gets up to 5 by kickoff. If you're looking to maybe make a move on it, you're going to bet the Eagles. I'd probably do it now. Better chance it goes up to 5 than it goes down to 4. You can kind of wait and see. But I put it on the money line. Ray convinced me yesterday. He gave me a pep talk.
Right. Yep.
It was minus 235.
Your family doesn't eat. That's on me.
Right. So I put it, and I had it in the account. I put 235 up to win $100. There you go. Does our next guest believe that the Eagles will prevail on Sunday? And he's come a long way since he was an intern at the Fanatic 13 years ago. He is not only a content creator that covers the Eagles and the 49ers, daily shows on YouTube. Just check out Chat Sports. But he's also like an executive with the company right now. His name is Chase Sr. As we welcome back him here to 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Chase?
Jon Marks, it's great to be on with you. I really appreciate you sending me a text last night asking me to come on the show, and congratulations to you being back on the air. And it's also great to see Ray killing it across the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, Ray's killing it. I remember you being here, and I remember being like, well, this kid's going to be something. But I don't. Were you here when I was working mornings with Anthony? Wait, were you here? Were you here with Jack? What era were you here as an intern?
So I was actually an intern alongside Andrew Salchunas, and we were in the back just screening calls for the Mike Missinelli show. And I believe that you were the co-host for Anthony Gargano. And so I would sometimes pull you to the side and just ask for advice. We'd have some good conversations. Then we've been able to keep in touch since then, and you've helped me a lot throughout the industry. And then when you were in the YouTube game, I lend a helping hand to you as well.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, so Salchunas, look at this. Look at the intern tree I have, Ray Dunn.
It's impressive.
I know. Chase Sr.'s become a big star. Jack's a big star. Salchunas is a big star. Seltzer's
I just got
become a big
brunch with
star.
John Kincaid the other day, too, in Westchester.
Yeah, what was that about? He texted me. And I'm like, why is Chase Sr. having lunch with Kincaid? What's going on? What are you two up to?
Just two Temple alums connecting. I grew up in Westchester, and he's obviously living in Westchester now. So we just wanted to reconnect because we've also kept in touch over the years. So we went to Market Street Grill, which is an OG spot in Westchester.
All right, so you do daily shows for the Eagles and the Niners, which is an interesting dynamic. And you've been doing this for years, too. So you followed these two teams. Obviously, you're local, so you've been an Eagle fan your whole life. But how do you kind of look at this matchup? And I guess before the matchup, what are your thoughts on the Eagles as they're heading into the playoffs? Is this a team you're confident in as the Eagles head into the playoffs?
Yeah, so I've watched every snap of both teams this year, and these are two different teams with where they are right now, of course. And I'm pretty confident in the Eagles just because of their championship pedigree and the fact that their defense, I think, is Super Bowl caliber right now. Since Week 18, they're the number one scoring defense in the NFL, giving up 14.5 points per game. And so I really like how the Eagles match up against the Niners because of how good their defense is. But I also love Philadelphia in the trenches. I think their defensive line can really control this game and manhandle the Niners' offensive line, which I think is pretty average. And we'll see if Trent Williams can play, but if he can't, I definitely think that Philadelphia can expose San Francisco up front. And I know that this Eagles offensive line has been down this year, but the Niners defensive line is one of the worst units in the NFL. They've sorely missed Nick Bosa. They've missed Michael Williams, who was their first-round pick. He's a really good run stopper. And this Niners defensive line and their defense in general is last in the NFL in sacks and last in pressure percentage. So I think this Eagles run game can come alive because I think their offensive line can help control the game. But I also think that Jalen Hurts can have success in the passing game just because I don't think that he's going to be worried when he drops back in the pocket because the Niners really struggle to generate a pass rush. A worry that I do have is this Eagles rushing defense going up against this Niners rushing offense. Now, San Francisco is 30th in the NFL in yards per carry, but when they were the hottest offense in the NFL prior to their loss on Saturday against Seattle, they were humming from a balanced perspective. Brock Purdy was playing better than any quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. He had 13 touchdowns over a 3-game stretch. And then for the first time all year, really, Christian McCaffrey finally had running lanes. And while this Eagles defense has been phenomenal since Week 8, as I mentioned, they have given up 122 rushing yards per game. And so if San Francisco can kind of have this hog-the-ball approach and keep this Eagles offense that has struggled to find a rhythm on the sideline, thus leading them to have a difficult time finding a groove, that could be a formula for San Francisco to find success. But the Eagles are the far healthier team. They have the rest advantage. They're at home. They should definitely win this game, and I feel confident in them doing so.
Let's jump into that talk about the Eagles offense and why it hasn't found a rhythm. What do you see as the biggest cause for concern with this Eagles offense and why it hasn't been able to find a rhythm all season long?
Well, everybody has tried to say Saquon Barkley is washed, Saquon Barkley is cooked. I actually don't think that's the truth at all. When I've watched Saquon Barkley this year, I still think that he's running with velocity. He's running with explosion. He still has the same speed. It's not the Madden curse or anything like that, but all year long, his yards before contact has been down 1 yard to 1.5 yards compared to last year. That's not a Saquon Barkley problem. That's an offensive line problem. I think that Cam Jurgens has really regressed. I'm not sure how he made the Pro Bowl. He has a very high blown block rate, and I think that he's been bullied by some of these physical interior defensive linemen. And so he's gone downhill year over year, and maybe the offseason back surgery has something to do with that. And then I think Landon Dickerson has also had a down 2025, and I don't think that he's ever been healthy. And Tyler Steen has been fine, but he hasn't been as good as Mekhi Becton last year, and they're different players. Tyler Steen was an offensive tackle at Vanderbilt and at Alabama, and he was a very good college offensive tackle. But you can just see in the build, he's a different player than Mekhi Becton. He's a lot more slender than Becton, who was a road grader and one of the biggest offensive linemen that you'd see. And a lot of Saquon's success last year was running behind Mekhi Becton. So I actually think that was a big loss for the Eagles this offseason, and a player that I wish Howie Roseman would have brought back. He only signed with the Chargers for 2 years and $20 million. I thought Philadelphia could have afforded Mekhi Becton there. And so I think that's the biggest problem with this offense is the lack of an efficient running game, which has then led to the Eagles being not as balanced as they were last year, and obviously the run game can open up the pass game, which hasn't really happened on a consistent basis this season.
So the question is, if you were the Eagles and you just talked about their defense, how would you attack San Francisco's defense? And maybe you can you send a text to Patullo, because I don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to know what to do. But what you had mentioned, the running, there's no pass rush, and I've heard that as well. But how would you come out as far as the matchup? What would you do offensively if you were the Eagles?
So there's a pretty fascinating development for the Niners. They've been top 10 in injury rate every year since 2017, outside of 2023. That's the year that they made it to the Super Bowl, and that has not changed this year. They're still a very injured team. And at the linebacker spot, they come into this game extremely hobbled. And prior to them signing Kaiser White yesterday, there was not a single linebacker who made the initial 53-man roster who was healthy. And so the Niners in this game could be starting Eric Kendricks, who they signed on November 26th, and Kaiser White, who they signed yesterday. The other linebacker in the mix could be Curtis Robinson, who's been a healthy scratch over the last couple of games because he was so bad in coverage. And so what I would do if I'm Kevin Patullo is call and design some crossers. And this has been a big topic of conversation in Philadelphia. John, you know this. Ray, you know this, that the Eagles haven't called enough of these. But when they have called crossers, Jalen Hurts has thrived. When you call crossers, what do? You target the middle area of the field, and you can exploit the Niners backers. And Hurts, when targeting crossers this year, is 32 of 38 for 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 129.1. The issue with this is that the Eagles called crossers at the third lowest rate in the NFL. Now, I will say that prior to the Buffalo game, they did a better job, especially with A.J. Brown, of calling crossers for him, lining him up inside, outside, but they can't just rely on winning matchups on the outside. They have to target the middle area of the field, and that's with A.J., that's with Devontae Smith, that's also with Dallas Goedert, who had 11 touchdowns this year, which broke a record in franchise history for the Eagles for the most tight end touchdowns in a single season. So that's what I'd do if I'm Philadelphia. And then, of course, you got to be able to get the ground game going. That's what Seattle did against the Niners on Saturday. They ran it 39 times, and they just wore down that San Francisco defense. And because the Niners are talent deficient, but also they don't have a lot of depth, they're very bereft in that department. That's an area that I think Philadelphia can take advantage of in this game too.
Let's flip it to the other side of the ball. Who's got the advantage of play caller? Fangio and the Eagles defense, or Shanahan and the 49ers offense?
That's a really good question. I really like what Kyle Shanahan does, and Vic Fangio put it very well yesterday. He said that everything is packaged together very well with what Kyle Shanahan does. I will say this with Shanahan. I think he's different when his teams fall down early and he has to come back. It just kind of alters his approach and his flow as a play caller. So I kind of go 50-50 split there between Shanahan and Vic Fangio. Fangio has had a lot of success against Kyle in recent memory. Kyle Shanahan tried to hire him all the way back in 2017 to come back to the Niners because Fangio was a great defensive coordinator for Jim Harbaugh with the 49ers when they made it to 3 straight NFC championship games and a Super Bowl back in the day. And then the Chicago Bears blocked Shanahan trying to bring back Fangio. But I just think that Fangio right now has more horses than what Shanahan has on offense. And then this team in general is just so much healthier than what the Niners are. So maybe the slight edge to Fangio just because I like how this defense is playing right now. I think that Philadelphia can really dominate this game in the trenches. So maybe I'll go slight edge Fangio there.
All right, Chase Senior across all social medias. Chase _ Senior. If you want to check out everything that he does, his Instagram, his Twitter. I'm assuming that's your YouTube handle as well. But it's a good way to see everything that he does. You can see what he does on Chat Sports. When you do give a prediction, because I know it's still early in the week, when you do give a prediction, it sounds like that you're firmly believing the Eagles win this game. True?
Yes, I'm very confident that the Eagles win this game.
There he is. All right. How about after this week? It's kind of what Ray and I started the show with, which was, all right, like put the lie detector test on. Last year, it felt like the Eagles were primed to go to a Super Bowl. They did. They won it. To me, it doesn't feel like that this year. They could. They could. It's more about the matchups and if they can get going. But how confident are you in the Eagles as we start the playoffs?
I'm pretty confident. One more nugget, too. I was trying to pull these numbers up. So Kyle Shanahan's gone up against Vic Fangio 4 times. The last time was 2018. Shanahan's offenses have scored 11, 6, 15, and 9 points. So I think that context is very important for this conversation. As far as
11, 6?
11, 6, 15, and 9.
That's good numbers right there.
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
stuff.
So as far as your question, I think if the offense can find a groove, and if they can just be a little bit above average paired with this defense continuing to ball out the way that they've been playing, I think that the Eagles can make it back to the Super Bowl and go back-to-back, because I think this year compared to any other in recent memory, the field in the NFC is completely wide open, and I'd take Philadelphia when they're playing their best football against anybody in this conference. And then if they get to the Super Bowl, I don't think there's a great team at all in the AFC, and I really like how Philadelphia would match up against any team in the AFC bracket.
All right, there he is. Chase, congratulations, buddy. You've made me proud as my former intern. I've been enjoying what you're doing, and keep it up, and we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate that. Great to be on with you guys.
All right, there he is, Chase Senior. What a nugget we got at the end there. In 4 games, they scored 41 points. Shanahan scored 41 points against Fangio.